Hey, it's Jordan. Delighted to be joined by Luke Pakter. I came across you on Reddit and kind of gave me some, I guess, PTSD from when I was arrested, but your situation sounds a lot worse. So you were protesting, I guess, what, like 5, 6 days ago, and the police roughed you up, roughed other protesters up. But the rest of the story is pretty horrifying, so I'll just let you take it from here. What got you involved in the protests? What happened? What happened to get you arrested? And tell us about the prison conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been arrested twice this past week now. Initially, the first time on Saturday, and then the second time was this past Tuesday. And on Saturday when I went out, I was out there for about 60 minutes. This was like around 5 p.m. at Times Square. This was last Saturday, and I was closer to the front. And we got some news that there was a big group of protesters that were all being taken down and arrested by officers near Times Square. We were about we were maybe on like 38th Street, so it was like a couple blocks away. So we decided to keep on marching that way. As far as I know, it wasn't to like look for conflict or anything. This was like before the mayhem really began. This was us early last weekend. So we started marching that way. And since I was in the front, I was on the side with my phone, just taking video. I also had my video camera actually. So I had my video camera taking video and whatnot. I had like my mic equipment and all that. And then the very front, the police, they got very aggressive and started yelling like, okay, back off, back off. And I was in the back and I just kind of started walking backwards, still filming the whole situation. When I then got, they were like, get that guy. And they pulled me aside and they cuffed me. And then, they were very extremely aggressive. This was before even like looting and stuff really began, this was, so they didn't have like the veil of protection of like, oh, well, these are the So
it was peaceful when they started.
It was,
Yeah.
This was around 5 p.m. This was completely peaceful. This was like all the marches that I've always seen, back in the day and whatnot when I did that a lot. It was just super peaceful. It wasn't even like any of the, fuck the police or NYPD, suck my dick chants, none of that. It was peaceful. And then they very aggressively pulled me to this line in the middle of Times Square. There was about 5 other of us. There was one lady on the side kind of shouting out like, hey, do you have contact information so we can help you out? They threw us in the bus. I was sitting in the back of the van, and they opened the thing in the back, and I asked one of the officers like, hey, what's going on? Can you give me some information, please? And he just said, shut the fuck up. Don't talk to me. And I was like, oh, God. Oh, boy. Okay. Oh, my God. Jesus. And then he said, don't use the Lord's name in vain, which I thought was kind of like, okay. He just told me to like, shut the fuck up, And what I immediately noticed with everyone in line is the first time I didn't pick up on it as much as the second time, but that they really make sure to chum up to everyone in line. Like they really chum up to you. They try to build this like almost like friendship, which, you see a few people kind of like, I don't want to say like falling prey to, but very, I saw some people that were then like dancing with their cops and stuff. And it's like important to kind of remember, like those are the people that were just beating the shit out of somebody.
And at any point in this transport to the jail and before mugshot, are they telling you why you're under arrest?
No, they do not. I asked my arresting officer. I tried to like not talk to my officer too much. I didn't want to like get too friendly with him or anything. The thing that I guess was like the only like real silver lining of it all is that everyone in that cell when we got in there was like a sense of camaraderie. I mean, the big tough like hardened criminal type that was in there was like buddied up and supporting and helping out like the small skinny little like transgender boy, who outside of the cell they would have never mingled in any way, right? But in there it was like a sense of camaraderie because of how bad it got. And then around 11 p.m. we ran out of water. There was no more water in the cooler. And some of the kids that started coming in, you know, I mean, because they were really lightheaded, they were bleeding. They needed medical attention. And some of us kind of made it our responsibility to keep going to the window, like, hey, we need medical attention. We need, you know. And then when they kept stuffing the cell, I think there must have been like around 90 people in that cell at one point, and the air got so hot and stuffy. It was like a sauna in there because you just got so many big people in there sweating.
90 people in one cell?
It was, I mean, it was like a cell, like, it was like a bigger cell, you know, it was like a cell of like, it was like the size of like a classroom, you know, like a big classroom kind of, right? I mean, we weren't like piled on top of each other, but it got to the point where we were stuffed in like this.
Right.
We were standing in there like that. There wasn't much space to move, you know.
During a deadly pandemic.
During a deadly pandemic, yeah, and a lot of people in there didn't have face masks, and then especially with the water, it got really bad though because of how hot it got and how injured some of the people in the cell were. I mean, they needed water, and some of the people in there, they told me they were in there for like, you know, since like earlier that for like, you know, 10 hours already in the cell, which kind of freaked me out because my officer who was trying to chum up to me, you know, like I told you, he was telling me like, yeah, you know, I just got to do the summons. You'll be in and out, in and out. And then some of the kids, you know, when you get in there, they tell you like, yeah, I've been sitting here for like 7 hours. You know, I've been sitting here for 10 hours now and nothing has happened. So, you know, and then there's some people that kind of started freaking out a little bit, but for the most part, everyone tried to keep their cool. Like there was one guy who went nuts, but then everyone was like, yo, this can't be going on right now. And the thing is also is that there was a lot. I mean, the police office thing right in front of it, like the office section of it, it was packed with officers. I mean, it was full because each one of the people in the cell had their arresting officers. It was packed, and you know, so we kept calling out to individual officers, and they're like, "Hey, we need water, we need medical attention." Like I know someone who, and they kept saying like, "Yeah, it's not, you know, it's not me. I can't do, you know." It's like, then tell whoever you need to tell, we need help in here, you know. And nobody was sending any help for anybody. Nobody was sending any water or anything.
And the medical attention, was it, you know, cleaning up people's wounds, or were there other conditions?
There was absolutely no medical assistance of any kind. There was kids sitting in there with blood all over their face.
Wow.
They didn't even clean them up. I mean, they go out there and they beat the shit out of people, and then you'd at least hope that if you're gonna go out there beating people up, at least bring a damn medic. But no, it was kids was sitting there. The guy with the eye, everyone was left to their own devices. There was no medical assistance of any kind. And then what the one cop who was in front of the gate with the door where they let the new inmates in, he pulled up then this big jug of water, this ice water lemon jug with lemons in it. And he kept drinking it, looking at us like smiling, you know, like kind of taunting us with it. Like, I mean, they very much knew that, like, yeah, it was like obviously deliberate that we were like not giving water. It was, you know, I mean, he was literally mocking us. And I mean, all that shit really is like what slowly like began was like radicalizing me, if you want to put it that way. But then what started happening is because, you know, there was for a little bit like a consistent base of the amount of people that they were taking out for people that were being put in. But once that stopped and they stopped taking people out, and there's more people started coming in, especially around midnight, and it just got so full. The people in the front, so we made some space in the front, and then we pushed the water cooler in front of the door, and there was you know, and then we had to like barricaded the door almost. It was like a mini riot inside the jail in a way, because some people were so agitated and so upset they started banging on the glass really heavily. Then I was finally let out around like 3:45 a.m. I got in there at 5 p.m. And I mean, I was really mad. I was really upset. And I mean, then when I got out, there was jail support, which was fantastic to see. If there wasn't jail support, I don't know. It really was able to lift my spirits back up. Of like, okay, there's like people out here waiting for me. They were offering me cigarettes. They were offering me food, rides home, like people that cared a lot. Because especially after that, just now, where you really get mad at,
And
you
what was
know,
the illegal congregation? Because it was past the curfew, or
it wasn't passed. No, it was illegal assembly. This was not when any of the curfew shit. This was not
right?
this was last weekend. This was like a couple days after George Floyd was even killed. This
And
was
did they explain, or did it whatever they gave you explain what was illegal about your?
no, no,
Okay.
just illegal assembly. That's what I was told. It was just illegal assembly. They were just repeating it back to me because that's probably what their lieutenant told them, and that's
So,
just what it says on my summons sheet.
so it sounds to
Illegal
me they
assembly.
basically, roughed up protesters, threw them in jail, left them in for anywhere from 10 to 20 hours for no real reason.
No, no. I mean, as far as I know, I mean, illegal assembly. To me, I was kind of when they first arrested me, I was kind of joking around because it was like, oh, okay, you know, it was like a certain of like novelty, I guess, at that point to it for me, which was naive. It was like illegal assembly guys. Where you come on? That sounds unconstitutional. And he was like, oh, I don't know. But and then I got out of jail, and then I went back out that next night. I went out again. The night after that, I went out again. I witnessed a lot of the rioting and looting that happened on Sunday night, which I wasn't a fan of. I didn't participate in. I don't think it's my background is like professional organizing and shit, so I know looting isn't gonna help anything or anyone. But I went out on Tuesday again. I went out at like 5 p.m. It was a group of like 1,500 of us. We were marching down on the West Side Highway. Got broken up on the West Side Highway. It was like 600 then of us left. Started marching up to Union Park Square up there, 14th Street. We were told there was like 5,000 people stuck on the Manhattan Bridge. I'm sure you know about that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were kind of there live at the moment what was happening. So we were like in correspondence with the people on the bridge, debating like, okay, should we go to the bridge on the other side because 5,000 there and then like 1,000 here, like we can then break through. Do we do that? On Tuesday night, not just was it the biggest turnout yet, I think, but it was absolutely definitely the most peaceful in terms of like not that violence didn't occur, but in terms of the protester side. Like how the protesters acted. All the other nights, I saw protesters kind of acting up and doing shit, and then I saw the looting and the rioting and all that. On Tuesday night, though, it's like everyone really had their shit together. Anybody that jumped to the side and started like doing any kind of like rioting shit or sort of just breaking shit, everyone in the crowd was like, stop, this is not what we're here for. This is not what we're doing. Stop. Pulled him aside. I mean, they'd be kicked out. Like, you cannot walk with us. You're not with us. Everyone was so well organized in terms of keeping it peaceful. So we were debating like, okay, do we go to the Manhattan Bridge and help in that situation? And then Tuesday night is when it really began feeling like a battlefield out there. I mean, the way we were like thinking about things in terms of I'd get people on bikes as scouts to go ahead to see what the police presence is. We had people on police scanners finding out like they got dogs out, and then at that point when we heard how violent it got at the Manhattan Bridge, we got really afraid. There was 600, 700 of us, and they started targeting. In fact, what was the grossest part is because so many people had also just run off at that point. It was chaos, and they started targeting like people that were more vulnerable. I saw this one, she was like a shorter, overweight. This one she was overweight and a little short and whatnot. And she was running, and then she tripped over this metal bar and fell over this bush. And then these two cops were like mocking at her, laughing at her, like "ha ha, fatty," before they went down on her, like just with getting her and beating her up. And
They called her fat. They called her fatty.
Yeah, they were like "ha, fatty," like chip, like they were mocking her. Really, like it was the most vicious. I mean, that shit that night, I still like I'm like processing because it just was such chaos and it was just such relentless brutality. And then I didn't want to like get in the fighting. Like I wasn't there to like fight the police, I viewed myself as like, all right, I'm gonna like link up, protect like people that are vulnerable in this situation, but that like I'm not gonna like fight back the police. That's not what I do. There was just so much chaos all around. There was cops in front of me grabbing people, cops to the side. It was all, I found myself just like in the middle of this battlefield is what it felt like. And I saw this one younger looking black girl who was also pretty short. She was like 5'2". She got pushed over by one of the cops, and then it was like 4 or 5 cops that took turns like kicking her and beating in on her, really fucking like beating the shit out of this girl. And so I immediately pulled out my phone because it was the type of footage that, like, you know, it's like another like George Floyd footage. It was just such cool footage. And I was shooting video, and I was standing on the side just shooting video. I was like not attacking any cops. If they wanted to arrest me, they could have just taken me down. You know, they could have just gotten me if they wanted to, but I wasn't like a threat to anyone. I was just shooting video. And then I go to pull out my phone to film the scene of the girl being beaten up. And then I got a baton and it hits. I mean, you can tell it's like, obviously, yeah, it's a baton. It falls to the ground, and then he steps on it again to make sure that the phone is broken. I mean, like really, to like destroy evidence, you know? And then I get pushed to the ground by him. And then another cop comes, because he had called over like another cop. And I'm laying on the ground, and I saw how the kids in the jail, I saw their cracked skulls and shit, and how badly they were injured. So just my first instinct was like, okay, it's just like, I'm not resisting. Like I knew I couldn't, you know, like I'm a big guy and whatnot, but I knew I couldn't fight back riot cops. There's just no way. So immediately, like, I'm not resisting, but they still then started beating down on me. And, like kicking me and shit. And I was covering my hand the whole time. But I don't even have the thing. But so anyways, they fucked up my left hand really bad. I'm left-handed. I had to go to the hospital the next day. I have like this brace that I now have to put on my hand, because like it's just like because they were beating, you know, when I had the phone and he beat down on the phone, it really fucked up the hand super bad. So it was an excruciating pain with the hand. I even told them like, hey guys, because I went out as a medic, I had a medic vest on with all the medic stuff in it. And I told them like, hey, there's a thing for my thumb in there. There's a thumb, like part of the medic kit. Can I please put it on? They told me, no, I can't. But then they all sat us down on the side of the street. There was another kid that was sitting there who, again, he was bleeding really badly from the head. Really bad. This was worse than anything I saw in the jail even. Then another guy who was there who was like a professionally trained medic. He's an EMT. He kept asking him like test questions. Okay, like what day is it? What's going on? Do you know, what's your name? What year is it? Stuff like that. You know, to make sure it was okay. The police were completely ignoring it. I mean, it was us sitting there cuffed up, having to like try to give medical assistance to this kid who had his head bashed open. And then I found out from someone else who was friends with him, who was in the bus with me, that he went to the hospital 2 hours later when they finally decided to give him a medic, and he had to get 17 staples to the skull. And they let him sit there for an hour and a half. He was sitting there with us. I mean, you can imagine the kind of damage that can do, right? Then I can send you a photo. There's a photo of my arrest that I found online. There's this one photo of this one black kid. But see, there's this black kid who's sitting there next to me. He wasn't even part of the protest. He's a 17-year-old kid. I just sent the photo. You should have just gotten it. He's a 17-year-old kid, and he was just coming home, and he was trying to go home to his sister's place, and they just arrested him. And like the whole thing, he was like in shock. It was like, it really felt, he was like, I'm not part of this. Like he wanted to put his hood on because he was embarrassed. It's like a 17-year-old kid. He had nothing to do with any of this, but he fainted and started throwing up because it was like so traumatic for him, what he was seeing there, the shit that was going on. That's why he's laying there on the ground next to me. Yeah, then they brought us to the jail. And again, it was like last time, you know, the things were way too tight. This time it was way more painful because the lack of circulation to my fucked up thumb made the pain like a lot more bad. They brought us to the jail again. This time the jail wasn't as packed. It was way less packed. It was a different jail. It was a jail in Brooklyn that they took us to. And I had a really nice officer, in fact, this time. But it was again the same shit that I was seeing in line with like people chumming up then to the cops and the cops trying to buddy up the, you know, like, hey, yeah, you know, we're just the cops, you know, let me just explain you, you know, why we got to do this and and it's just, And then it just was so upsetting to see so many people kind of like fall for it because it was just such an obvious good cop, bad cop strategy.
Yeah.
And it's like, those are the people that just beat the living shit out of us out there. And that just like ruthlessly like bullies, you know, and even if it wasn't those exact people, those exact cops, those are the cops that are colleagues with those people that you know, that get lunch with those people and that let that stuff happen.
It sounds, from everything you've described, it sounds like you have people that are basic bullies that enjoy toying with people, belittling people, teasing people, from making fun of a woman for her weight to depriving you of water. It just seems these are not protectors, that they're, you know, barbaric.
That's what it felt like when I was in that like battlefield situation. I mean, and that's what was like so shocking to me, you know, because like I said, when I went out on Saturday, you know, and just before that, I kind of closed the door on activism and politics for me. I just went out to shoot video. And when I went in that jail that night and saw the conditions, saw how kids came in, and then I saw what happened the following days, and I saw what happened on Tuesday, it really kind of showed me that like what I thought was nuanced point of view on things, and, you know, everything has nuance, and you gotta, you know, everything has two sides, and an independent view on things was really more just like a naive point of view that was like heavily rooted in white privilege, which is something I've been now for the first time kind of acknowledging. Before that, I never was a big fan of like virtue signaling or just, you know, SJW, whatever you want to call it stuff. But for the first time this past week, I've been confronted with my white privilege and what that means. And especially when I was there on the ground and the cops were beating the shit out of me with those batons, and and you're not fighting back, and you don't know when it's going to stop, and there's nothing you can do. You're at the mercy of these two cops, and you don't even know if you might walk away alive. I mean, you don't know. You really don't know in that situation. And that is just, all of that has really opened my eyes in terms of like, this is what Black and brown people have been walking around with in America for decades, for centuries, right? Like, that's how I'm afraid when I see police now, and that's how they always have felt. They have viewed the police in a completely different way, always. It's like, you know, and for the first time, I've been confronted with that, and I'm now acknowledging that. And I think a lot of white people are going through that at the moment, which I think is maybe the only good thing coming, you know, or one of the good things coming out of this. But yeah, they were bullies. They were out there. It was really sickening. I never expected anything like that.
Man, well, I'm sorry you had to deal with this. I know that, like you said, more white people are finally seeing the barbarism that a lot of Black people live with day to day. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Luke, for taking the time, man. Hope you don't get arrested for a third time. Two's enough in 1 week.
Yeah, look, you know, the way I feel is, if anything, they just radicalize me even more. I'll be out there. They can arrest me every night. They can take my other hand. I'm so upset. I'm just so mad. So no, I'm not going anywhere, you know? But yeah, thank you for taking the time to listen. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Have a good one. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com, where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.